open, living for the night like it is golden. Yeah, I came to win, I'm never folding. I just wanna dance among the stars. These after hours got me charged and open, living for the night like it is golden. Yeah, I came to win, I'm never folding. I just wanna dance among the stars. These after hours got me charged and I just wanna dance among the stars. I just wanna dance among the stars. I just wanna dance among the stars. These after hours got me charged and
So here we go, guys. We are back, episode 155 of the Locked In Podcast, the Steve and G Show. As you know, I'm your host, G-Mac, aka G-Money, or George M. I'm your gracious host, and today we're going to be presenting episode 155. The topic is hip-hop beefs and hip-hop rivalry of the years. We'll be talking about a couple things. Mostly about how hip-hop beefs kind of started and how the competitive nature of battling and battle rap and everything else, beefing, going on records to beef and everything else, so forth and so on, has been kind of always a part of hip-hop. We'll be talking about that a little, highlighting some of the biggest beefs and battles. Certain ones, we probably need a lot of episodes for those, because there's a lot of good ones, but we'll be talking a couple good ones that I have here. I got notes, guys. I got a lot going on. Not that I need a lot of notes for this particular topic, but again, it's one of those topics where things are a little more detailed than you think and intricate. And if you can talk about a beef, you might want to pick one really, but if we mention a couple of different artists that possibly went against it with each other, we gotta mention some other ones and some elements or key events that happen. Of course, it's a big topic. It's it's a very open-ended one. Misunderstandings and beefs and issues in hip-hop and battling have been going on since the beginning. But let's be clear. It's been beefs and battles, and not always the same thing, and all some rivalries, but we'll get to that in a second, and we'll kind of break it all down. Also today, the subtopic will be 2023 for the Locked In Podcast. Our year in review. How much we've done, where we went, the episodes, some of the travels we did, just our kind of like, what we did with it and the time we spent on the podcast, but also our lives, where we traveled and how much, work we put in, and some of the top episodes that we brought this year. I don't know exactly at the top how many we did this year. All I know is we're ending 155, I could probably check it out and see when we started it, but we didn't miss a whole lot of weeks the whole year, the whole solar year of 2023, which means that we have a good amount of content and a lot of episodes that weren't, that were great. And I mean, we always like to believe that we do a good job and we bring some good episodes. Some have been better than the others. Some have been a little more, maybe a little more detailed topics that some people prefer. It's all about preference. We always bring good content, at least that's what we try to do, guys. So we know, so we know what's going on, and we also bring the content that people, our viewers, kind of want us to put out there and to also they want to hear about or watch. As always, guys, got to do the three main things that are to subscribe, share, comment, like first of all. So actually four things, but hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, comment, share, and like. Also, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell somebody about us. Also, I want to thank some of our guys that be behind the scenes that been also not only watching us but kind of helping when they can. They know who they are. And shout out to my guy Marius and of course my co-host Steve. Now, guys, before you start asking, Steve will not be able to make it today. I know the promise said he was going to, but some circumstances came up and he actually was able to make it today. Also, as you guys know, we're doing it on a Friday. Usually the show is on a Thursday. Beautiful Friday evening / Friday night. We're just working what we got. It is the last episode of the year. I mean, it's the very end of the year as it is. It's 29th. And it wasn't really the best, how can I say it, the best schedule in terms of being flexible and coordinating yesterday. So we ended up doing it today. But I ended up doing it on my own. Steve did have a very important commitment to do and he couldn't do it. He thought he could do it, but then early in the morning we kind of figured out that he wasn't going to be able to be a part of today's show. So therefore I'm here. Do it a solo dolo. You know how we do. And sometimes solo's good, it gives you more, lenience to kind of do the run show a little how you want to run it. You can bring people in. I might bring somebody in. Of course, Steve won't be able to do it, but somebody might come in. I'm waiting on somebody to respond to me. My man Mo might hit me up. Possibly my man Cozy, my man Tone. It's nor here nor there. We'll see though. But some people might actually join us as we do it. So we'll get into it and start, talking and getting more into it. So, again, today's topic is, like I said, hip-hop and basically the battle portion of hip-hop and the competitive nature of it. That's the main one. Which includes beefs, beef records, battle rap, songs that go back and forth with artists, and also altercations and other things of that nature that get tough sometimes, So we'll talk about that. Also, I want to thank my friend here, my friend Robbie Calabrese for being a great guy. Wrestling trainer, pro wrestling trainer, and hangs out with a lot of MMA fighters and also coaches some of them. So, I'm going to give him a shout out. One day I want to bring him here. Always hits me up. He's been a very big supporter of what I do and also the podcast. He doesn't know a whole lot about it, but I told him there's a podcast. He knows the name of it. And he knows that we'll be going live, so he watched the show. And to be fair, we haven't done a lot of shows regarding like fighting and pro wrestling, MMA, and all that. But we're in the middle of doing that, and we're setting up more episodes as we go along, guys. So just bear with us a little bit. We still have a lot of content left for you guys. A lot of content. And having said that, we're going to get right into it, and we're going to wait a little longer for some people to join in and all. And we're going to start with today's show and jump right into it. So, podcasting is one thing, but long before podcasting, there was always, radio. There's always radio interviews, and there was always things going on. Since the beginning of time, hip-hop artists, they're stars. I mean, hip-hop got big sometime in the 80s, and the whole machine, which we call a machine, the way the labels would kind of promote an artist and put them out there in the front line, it changed over time, especially in the 80s and 90s, but obviously 90s was the pinnacle. By like between 85, 86, I'm going to time Craig came out, ironically enough, hip-hop was already experiencing like a huge leaps in terms of popularity, and there was a couple good rappers out there that were doing their thing. I mean, you had like guys like Rap Force, Run DMC. I mean, they were like the gods of hip-hop, still are. They're like, they're huge. I mean, there'll be no hip-hop without those guys, but that's another story, and we'll get to that as well. Guys like LL Cool J, guys like Marley Marl, guys like Grandmaster Cash, and what do you call that? The Ghetto Boys. They were around like the late 80s, early 90s. Scarface being the main one from that group. Of course, NWA, Ice Cube, and Dr. Dre, those guys. Eazy-E, Ice-T, another OG legend. LL Cool J, like we said, and on and on. Now, as far as the part of hip hop where like kind of like gets in conjunction with the beefy part, which we'll get to in a second, but the part of hip hop where it becomes sort of like competitive nature and battling, it's got to do with you just trying to be kind of good at it, good at your craft. It is a science, it's an art. Those understand it. It's you know, it's more than just music. It's a genre. It's a culture. Some debate whether it is or not. I think it's a culture in certain ways, elements. Of course, hip hop now we're not the same how it was back then, and we know that. But we'll get to that in a second. Again, it's a lot of things we got to get to. I mean, we'll talk about it and include that as well. Hip hop has changed, and probably for the not for the best neither, to be honest. A little for the best and for the worst. Like, yeah, there's more money involved, there's more known than ever, but it's also a lot of things coming around that unfortunately don't really help the music do justice. But it makes money though. So money, I guess, it's always good, right? You make your money, you got the fame, you got the clout. These days, clout exists more than ever. There was always clout since the 80s. And right now we're talking about a little bit of the beginning of everything, the 80s and early 90s. But clout has got worse now. Having said that, with clout, and even back in the day, with rappers having to be the big man on the label and kind of doing their career, like doing justice to themselves and trying to go out there and promote, make songs, be the best they could be. Back in the day, if you were at a party somewhere in New York and the DJ was spinning, had the headphones and all the mic, and there's a mic there, and you could go out there and spit a little bit, or freestyle, or maybe just throw some lines in, some bars, you were the man. Now it's very common. Now it's like you're big time. You're doing it on live stream, possibly. You're having a live stream between two big artists, like say Drake and like Young Thug, or Drake and Wayne, or doing like a excuse me, a live stream. You'll be all over the place. They'll be watching it. There's no need. There's like a party in the background. You have Drake the chilling in live stream saying something, and that's how it goes these days. But back in the day, there wasn't such thing. Back in the day, it was more or less like it was rappers going to conventions. They used to have a hip hop convention. There was shows. There was a parties, and the guys on the block, those that don't actually know, the rappers and the MCs were actually looking up to those guys. That's right. They were looking up to the guys that were on the street corners, the hustlers, the guys that are making money, the OGs, the gangsters, the street soldiers, all the guys. There was a time when rap and the street life was always like kind of like together. I mean, it's always been kind of, I guess, hip hop. You could say it's kind of true. We can't really deny that. However, not every artist that was doing hip hop was talking about street stuff, but the element was always there. They always were around. LL Cool J. I mean, the Golden Age rappers, which will be between 79 till about maybe, I'm going to say like 89 or something like that, or maybe like 88. Even though 1990 was still, the spirit was still, that's when everything changed. You know, by 91, rappers were thinking more like for the future, and that's when everything was changing. I mean, the way things were going on, the shows, tour buses, it was like a learning and a growing process. Because hip-hop is a young craft. It's probably like, I mean, 1975, it's what, 48 years ago now, 48 and a half years ago. 73 is 50 years. Yeah, hip hop is like 50, 51 years old. Like between 70 and 73. Like maybe like early 71 to 73. That 2-year process was the very essence of it. But there was always, even in the parties in the beginning of it, there was always a spirit of competitiveness. And all these guys were competing against each other. They were going at each other, trading words and freestyles, and possibly somebody could go and rock the mic, which, to those that don't know, I mean, if you're new watching this, or if you don't know anything about hip-hop, what that means is you're on the mic rapping, like this, you're singing, rapping, talking, you're rocking the mic, you're doing your job, basically, in other words. I need a tissue or something. Hold on a second, guys. Anyway, so, back in the day, it would be a lot of times where the DJ would get the microphone, get a rapper in there, and the rapper would freestyle a little bit and kind of rock the party. But the DJs were really the stars. The rappers were almost like secondary, but then the rappers and the actual MCs was the ones that were carrying the crowd and making the parties popping, making it lit. I mean, bringing the crowd in there. The girls will go crazy for them. The women always loved the rappers, and it's like a misconstrue guys. It was the DJs. They were the original guys. Like I just said a few minutes ago, you had the street guys, which the rappers want to be like and dress like them. Then you have the DJs. The DJs were getting more than anybody. I mean, money was good for DJs. A lot of them were connected to street guys, but they were making ends meet. I mean, they were hustling. They're making some kind of money. They had all the girls. Yes, DJs back then were getting more pussy than the rappers. Facts. Ain't no made up shit. I know OGs right now. I could call them right now. It's doing the show probably. Even bring them in here possibly. There are DJs, big time guys from New York City. OGs, legends. Let's repeat the legends. And those that know me know I don't fucking throw the word around like anything. These guys are legends. The first element of hip hop was graffiti. Hit the walls. Second element, DJing. Scratching all that, the DJs, doing that little thing, what I mean? That's what it was going on. It was a DJ. After that, that's when I'm seeing, and actually, which will, I mean, obviously, then later on become a rapping. You had the spitters or the MCs, and that's what, it was really like the spitters then MCs, because MCing was kind of like when you have the whole package. We'll get to in 1 second the difference between the two. So that's how you start. Eventually, the rappers became the main guys, and everything went from there, right? So, having said that, the rappers were always competitive, but so were the DJs, though. And again, it's going to be mentioned, I mentioned in the past, there's been beefs between DJs too. Well, we'll take our time with that and talk about it a little too. But it really started like in the parties, and it started like, as hip hop got bigger, the natural knack, if you will, or the natural, how can I say it, the will, the spirit inside to compete, that's what got big. Now you might think, well, it's always the competition, because if I make a song and we're in a song together, that right there is competition. Yes, everybody wants to have a better verse and everything else, but that's not what I'm referring to, though. It was more or less like guys in a party, and they were either battling or just seeing who was the best between them two. It was just, something along those lines, something, in that, sort of like in that world. It was like guys like either battling, and it was going to be like, oh, for fun, it's all good, we're still cool, we're just going to battle a little, or it could have been guys beating each other, but it was a little, like the feeling of battling was there. They might have been cool, but they didn't know each other. It could have been a guy from Brooklyn, from a dude from Harlem. That's just how it was back then. Remember, New York City is the Mecca, the Bronx. He wasn't the South, none of this other stuff. Everything came later. In the East Coast, he started in the 70s. Then he got in the West Coast sometime by like the late 70s, 80s. Because, believe it or not, there were rappers in LA rapping around like 82, 83. Even using curse words. And that's part of the plan here, part of the program we got here, and what I want to talk about. Some of the earliest guys. Again, they were in the Bronx, and then he spread New York pretty quickly. I mean, so if you start in the Bronx between 70 to about 73, 74, in about a 4 or 5 year period, you start really small and you start getting bigger and bigger. By 73, 74, he had been spread more in New York too. It wasn't just the Bronx, but it was very small still. Some people could relate to it. Demographics, we all know how it was. At the time, it was like 90%. Yeah, but I would say 90%. I don't know the exact number, but from what I heard in research, it was, and to this day, it's kind of the same anyway, but it was a 90% African American, black type of art form. You had the Hispanics that helped contribute as well, which means a couple Puerto Rican Dominicans. I mean, in the Bronx, it's a lot of Puerto Ricans. They had a hand with it too. A few Asians here and there, and some white folks too, some white people. But it was, and it still, to this day it is. It's a black entertainment. It's a black art form that it's gone global. So now anybody could do it. But the originators were, a lot of it was all youth guys and youngsters. Although some guys might have been a little older, but at the time in the 70s, a lot of guys, the younger guys, a voice for the young people to freestyle. It wasn't uncommon at all. And even now it's not. But back then, for young guys in the Bronx, young African American, black or Hispanic or Caribbean black men to get together and freestyle and do like a little cipher. And ciphers, again, that's where the battle thing started. Because at times they would go to see who was nicer, who had the better lyrics. And if you're up to par, a lot of times you couldn't even get into it like that. They came after. In the beginning was anybody could kind of join, And that, to be fair, it was like a hobby. It was like a little bit like an activity, a phenomenon that later became a genre. But it started as like almost like a getaway for guys to kind of like go out there and kind of like poetry, write poems. Then the recording, people start recording music. The DJs are always kind of there, and they started playing some records, and it all kind of became like little by little it grew. But by 85, which would have been close to 12 years, 10 to 12 years before hip hop really came out, it was large. This shit was flying by 85. According to some OGs that I've talked to and even asked prior to this episode, I asked some questions. They said that they were listening to stuff like in the 80s, like they were listening to rap in like 84, 85 in the subway. There was a show called Style Wars. Came out in 83, it was all about graffiti. A hip hop show, completely, a little documentary. He had one of the OGs and legends, my man DJ K Slay, R.I.P. He had him in there. DJ K Slay was also a writer, a graffiti writer. Again, the artists, men, were everywhere. Those were the original guys, the graffiti guys, not so much the rappers. But the rappers were there because almost all rappers that you actually might know, I'll throw you some names. Pusha T, Fat Joe, DMX, Guru, Gangstar, Mobb Deep, Havoc and Prodigy, R.I.P. to Prodigy. Who else? Daz, Dillinger, to name a few, Scarface, and a lot of us guys from New York. Big Pun, R.I.P., Big L, R.I.P., Cameron, Mace, and other guys. In fact, all these guys were graph writers. Many more, too. I'm just throwing some names out there. Many, many more. I've even seen some tags of some of these guys in New York when I was in New York, in the Bronx, like old ones from the 70s and 80s. And those that know me, I'm a little bit of a tag artist / tag influencer. Like I kind of like love to do the history of tagging. So being the hip hop and tag and graffiti are kind of all in one. I mean, they're one basically. They come together as one because it's the first element. I got to know a lot about the history and I learned about a lot of it too. So, and the battle portion is no different. It just started like in the 80s and 90s. Some of the first battle rap was MC Shan and Busy B. Like those that know about the history, they were going to parties and going to each other, making records and insulting each other. And that's the originator of the whole situation when it comes to beefs, the origins of beef. Now, I'm not saying the guys didn't beef before them, but it wasn't so much through a song and through music and them trying to make some records and possibly make some money and sell through it too. It was more like, yo, I see you got beef with me. I'll make a song. Like, now I see you. And yeah, it was drama too. I mean, people have got killed because of that. And, even then, I mean, one of the first hip-hop artists / rappers to get killed was Scott LaRock, who was friends with KRS-One. They shot him in 1987. R.I.P. and shout out to Scott LaRock and R.I.P. He was a good one too. He was a great one. Those that know about hip hop know he was KRS's man's when they made the bridges over. Again, people take it out of context. Different barrels. See, back in the day, it was different in New York City. Like, check it. If you're not from New York, you might not understand the whole concept. But it was like projects and buildings beefing other buildings. You had the Bronx. The Bronx was on fire. I mean, crime was like ridiculous. So hip hop was born of those elements. So people can be like, well, hip hop, gangster music destroyed hip hop. No, it's just a branch of hip hop. It doesn't have to be all about street style, but they're talking about what they've seen. It wasn't necessarily them they were influenced by that. They were influenced in that trying to be bad guys or criminals or the crime, but the crime rate was big, and there wasn't a lot of help. And the Bronx is on fire. Look at the documentaries. You see buildings on fire in the Bronx. That's why to this day the Bronx got one of the craziest reputations. Don't go in the Bronx at night like that. It's very dangerous. Harlem to win, Brooklyn. I mean, all over New York, but the Bronx is tough. Queens. For those that know, Queens and Queensbridge. Queensbridge is the projects, is the rougher, and so is South of Jamaica. But Queens got South of Jamaica, Queens. But Queens got the good parts. So like Queens is almost like the northeast of New York City, if you will. But got some very hardcore, tough projects. You might not want to go in there. Some very gangster parts, if you will, and some tough ones, and some better ones. Like, you can live there. Like, residency is good. It's on the rise. It's been some gentrification, but Queens has always been a very nice area. So, but also very tough. So I mean, some of the best rappers like Mobb Deep, LL Cool J before them. I mean, Run DMC, Nas, 50 Cent, the Bravehearts. Who else? Styles P's originally from Queens. Cool G Rap. Let me see who else I could think of. Ja Rule, Nori, Noriega from Drink Champs, from a great podcast. Shout out to Nori. CNN, of course, Capone Noriega. Pharoah Monch. Oh, that's my guy. I fuck with Pharoah Monch. I love Pharoah Monch. Great rapper. All these guys are from Queens. So Queens is a very big barrel, and a lot of the beefs in hip hop, in fact, were in Queens. But there's so much about Queens. We could do I should do a whole episode on it one day, maybe. I'll do another hip hop type one about the history of that, of the Get Money era in Queens. Queens get the money. Never mind, we'll get to it in a sec. People know about it, but only those that have been around know. So, yes. Having said that, like I said, a lot of the beef started there. So, we're not going to cover a lot of the beefs because this is too much to really cover, and we don't even have the time for it. We'll be covering some of the, situations that happen in hip hop and some of the tough times and everything else like that, and some of the beefs. And I know a lot of you guys know about the beefs. Those that don't know probably haven't really heard enough or seen enough, but some very popular beefs. I mean, we can start like some at the beginning. Let's just say, let's go with LL Cool J versus he won a lot of guys, but we'll talk about LL Cool J versus Kumo D. So LL Cool J versus Kumo D, which was one of the originators of hip hop, one of the top guys ever. LL was too, but LL was the youngster. These guys were already established. LL came out of nowhere. Being he was younger, these guys, their debut album came out in '84. When they've just signed him like in '83, but LL been rapping for a while, and that's how everything kind of like started, and everything got big around there. Once he got signed, LL called a lot of people out, including Ice-T, Kumo D, and even MC Hammer. Now this didn't happen just in the '80s. This is like more like early '90s, but late '80s, early '90s. He just had some kind of like issues. It was more of competitive nature, competitive spirit. I don't think LL Cool J any really issues with Ice-T or with Kumo D or with like MC Hammer and some of the other guys he went at. He beefed with a lot of guys, but including Cannabis, but that was later. It was more just calling him out because he felt like he's a young guy and they were old guys lying to the crowd. He even called them weasels and raccoons, and he called them like, I think he called one of them like a jackal in a song or something. Because LL Cool J had a song called Jack the Ripper. Although it's never been proven that it was shots thrown or subliminals. Remember, subliminals exist in this time too. It's actually bigger then. Now it's easy because people are sneak dissing. Back then was a subliminal that really meant, yo, it's about this guy. And then guys, they mention your name. There was no such thing as social media, guys. There was magazines. The Source magazine started in '88, which had a lot to do with some beefs, and we'll talk about that as well coming up. But The thing is that back then rappers could only reach out to other audiences through magazines, interviews, and TV stuff as promotional stunts or promotional events. Any kind of promotion, whether it was a song, an intro, a skit, whatever. The only promotion that wasn't there wasn't the social media we have these days. I mean, the videos we have, and I mean, there was some video calls, sure. You could do footage, you could do some stuff, you know. There was no live stream, there was no IG, there was no real ways to promote yourself, and like streaming such as this one, for example, now they should exist in like we'll say like mid late 80s to 90s, over to like the 2000s. In the 2000s, things change around like the mid to late 2000s. I would say like late 2000s in terms of monetizing the streams, of course. Well, a lot of exists even after, but still a lot of records died by like 2012, 2013, and that's just a timeline. But the streams and the phone evolution and the whole monetizing, the way the game changed, the landscape changed around them. Not just the music concept and the actual songs that people are saying, complaining like around. Like I remember, like wait, people are saying, "Oh, hip hop ain't as good as it used to be this last good year." Nas had a song and an album called Hip Hop Is Dead, and a song with the same name as the album, which came out sometime in like middle 2006. Maybe there was a sign for things to come. Maybe not. Maybe he saw something else. But he's basically talking about New York City hip hop not being on top, which a lot of people said that hip hop is dead, and that's why everything started. And then it went downhill after, like I would say, like I think '09 was like the last like decent year. Some people may agree, disagree, but I would say '09 was the last like good year. The music wasn't the same after that, but it just changed. Not that there wasn't good artists. Some artists came out around that era were great and still good now. Artists like Drake and J. Cole and Kendrick and other guys. Fred the Godson, R.I.P. But he was like another good one from the younger generation, the younger folks. But now you have the young generation, which is like the new guys like NBA YoungBoy and like I mean A Boogie with a Hoodie, like even Young Thug. These guys came like after, like the J. Cole's and all that. They're not necessarily, they're contemporaries, but they came a little after. Almost like 5 years later, 10 years later, some of these guys, some of the guys, that I mentioned. Like Lil Uzi Vert, he came out 2015, like after 2014 he came out. However, these guys have been in the game since like 08, 09, some of these guys. Jacoby signed for a while, so they were the ones that like the older ones, stuck between the old generation and the current one. Like the generation of the 2000s and the late 90s, then you get like that early, I guess, 2010s generation, and then you have the guys like right now, like in like they came out in the last like 2-3 years, And as you might think, beefing has changed a lot from the times of LL to the 90s with Tupac and Biggie. Like after LL Cool J did some of these guys, then back and forth it's going on between, like, it was in concerts, it was actually on shows, people were beefing. But a lot happened too, and we'll get to that because I'm going to actually cover one big beef. And again, we'll cover a couple of them, but there's a lot to cover for the time. So I want to, like, without saying too much and calling too many, names or mention too many things that probably don't need to be mentioned. This is all public information. You can Google 98% of this shit. Maybe 100% of it. I mean, and if it's not the same thing as I'm saying, it's something very similar. Because you have to realize, just because it's on Google doesn't always make it the truth, guys. People be like, yo, go here on Google, I got the truth. Well, I have a book and a magazine. It's before Google, all due respect. But Google can have also opinions of people that have twisted the words a little bit of truth. Not saying that Google's not, like, 100% of the time pretty accurate, but it's moments that, nothing beats an old book. As you guys can see, I have a lot of memorabilia collection. I have a lot of collection of magazines. Let me see if I can find one right now. No, it's not it. I have a magazine here somewhere about hip-hop. I could pull it up. I actually could pull it up right now. Since we're on camera, we're live, I could pull it up right now without moving a finger, really. Just my collection. Let's see what I got here. Yeah, I got one. Well, this is just the one about Tupac, but it's a special source, special edition about Tupac. This and 3 magazines is all I have left. All my magazines, including the XXL and the classic ones, were now iconic. The source were all tossed out, and unfortunately, when I had a flood in the basement years ago, in 2011, I had a small flood. Unfortunately, a lot of them got wet and thrown out. Bummer. Including CDs. Even beats that I had, man, it's crazy. But this one right here is a special one. This is a Tupac one. This is from, when the fuck was this? Okay, I bought this in 2017. March. This was bought around, this is March 2017. I bought this in like February 2017. See? From Tupac. This might have been around the time where the movie came out. This could have been it. I think it had filmed the movie. I think it was around then. Either it was, or because I think the movie came out 2017, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, it might have been around that time when the movie was about to come out. So, put this away. But yeah, see, guys, if I say something, I really mean it. Man, I got everything. I got magazines. I got my knowledge. I don't need magazines to talk about what I'm talking about, but I got everything. Here. It's plain and simple. with hip hop changing, a lot changed too. You know, I mean, you had these guys like NWA came out, they changed the game. You know what they stand for, and you know everything else. They were doing a lot of things and changing the game how used to change. But that's when the money's getting big too, because the corporation, the labels in the late '80s and early '90s, like what was it? Was it La Face, Arista, Atlantic Records, Virgin Records? You guys know this. Back then was record stores, and record stores literally. I mean, I was young to remember, but I remember literally the early '90s. But I know that like late '80s, early '90s, you had the vinyls, cassettes and vinyls, and you had the records and CDs. You know, CDs were around in like 88, 89. You know, they were kind of the sequence. Technology was changing. But the late '80s and '90s, all the way up to about 2006, 2007, it was all CDs. With the invention of iPhones and iPods at the time, now you have the iPads and everything else. But and you have, you know, obviously if your phone, it could be like an iPad. Like iPod, I'm sorry, iPod, not iPads, iPods. iPods were big, like I would say, what, like 05-ish, I think, 2005 to about 2008. By 2009, iPods were still big, but like after 2010, like 2010, everything started to change. So by 2011, half the stuff from the 2000s was like pretty much old. And by 2012, yeah, that was the last year. Anything in the 2000s is done. Which means that a decade before that, by 2002, anything 2001, anything from the 90s is pretty much phones and cameras, it's just old. VCR tapes are around, but not as much. Again, I say it to say this, that hip-hop took a big change, and with everything demonetized, so did everything, like including making records and all that. So NWA were doing their thing, and at one point Ice Cube, which was one of the main members, you know, they dropped Straight Outta Compton, they dropped songs like Appetite for Destruction, but Ice Cube felt like the labels and their corporations, guys like Jerry Heller and the guys that were involved at the time, were not being fair enough, and only some guys were getting money, eating good, the other guys were not eating good. Even the movie, which I actually watched recently with a friend just the other night, actually, good movie as it is, explains a lot of that. So when that happened, he left, and he left NWA, right? And a little after, they felt some kind of way. They seen success and all, and I don't know exactly why they started. You can say jealousy. They feel betrayed. That's just what it is. Let's be real. They feel like Ice Cube's doing no thing. He left, and they weren't liking it. They weren't feeling it. They made a song called 100 Miles of Running, and they went after him. And then he responded with No Vaseline, which, and the rest is history, as they say. No Vaseline was one of the best ever hip-hop songs, diss songs ever made. Wouldn't be the first necessarily, even though there was some before that, but it was probably the first really good one, like, I mean, except for NWA's one, of course. And after that, songs followed, and they got much better. And that was in like 90, almost like 91. NWA was beefing with Ice Cube. Eventually, their beef got squashed, and we know the rest. But he went after them really hard, and Ice Cube had a great career for himself, whereas the other guys also had a good career. But NWA sort of split, and Dr. Dre and Suge Knight started Death Row. Eazy and other guys went Ruthless. You had Ice Cube's folk with Lynch Mob and Ice Cube team. You had Death Row and Dog Pound and the Maparus and Dr. Dre and Suge Knight and them. And you still have Ruthless and Ruthless Records. Would have been Eazy-E and whoever's left in NWA. Is MC Ren and DJ Yella and some other guys. Dressed on Eazy-E's homies from Compton, and like Arabian Prince. People don't know that Arabian Prince helped start NWA. He don't get enough credit. Dr. Dre and the DOC, which was in NWA, were the only two members. I repeat, Dr. Dre and the DOC, Dr. Dre's homie from Houston, from Texas, were the only ones that were the contract got signed over. They went to Death Row. They know about the contract was how it was broken. That's another story. The infamous story that Suge Knight went up there and pressured Eazy-E, those guys. What you saw in the movie, don't believe the movie. The movie's a movie. It's good. It looks good, but it's not all the way the truth. You gotta understand, those guys are connected. You can't just touch those guys like that, man, because there would have been a big war in Compton. Even guys like Suge Knight to maneuver to do things differently. And there was a sign of things to come in terms of beef. I mean, Suge Knight was notorious for hanging people from the balcony, from their feet, smacking dudes around, fucking dudes up. I mean, fucking a lot of guys up. Suge Knight was known for that. This guy Suge Knight was definitely a nightmare then, and he would make it where people would actually sign up or sign in and give him the whatever bread he's looking for, you know. And Suge, he's always been out there, very much a pressurer, meaning he applies pressure. Like a strong arm type of guy, always trying to muscle you and strong muscle you, strong arm you. Very common, very much gang and mafia and criminal underworld tactics, scaring people, intimidating them. Like guys like that will put their arm around you a little and something got go off. Your chain will be off, your necklace, you lose some jewelry. There was no escaping it. Guys like, I'll mention some names, you know, it's all good. I could say some names now, and I'm not saying nothing that's not known. This is all on YouTube again and all on Google. Guys like Haitian Jack, yeah. King Tut, Jimmy Henchman, who was friends with Haitian Jack. These guys were the ones that were roughing up a lot of guys, extorting rappers in the East Coast and in the West Coast, mostly in the East. The guys that set up Tupac the first time he got robbed and shot him in 1984 at the Quad Studio, those were the guys, believe it or not. This is a mystery of who did it. They know who did it, okay? It was retaliation because they wanted to discipline Tupac and he was starting to not be cool anymore, so they said, we're gonna do this, and he just happened to be at the Quad Studios, but Biggie and Puffy and Lil Cease and Junior Mafia upstairs, and that's how the whole conflict started. That's how the East and West beef started, guys. Actually, not exactly. There was only one of the reasons. The real reason, and we live in a world where we love music, like everybody they listen to hip hop. It's a way of life. We everything's connected to movies and music. The whole industry is kind of connected through hip hop and movies and singing and the music industry. The hip hop, which is part of the music industry, Hollywood, everything. Yet they don't know that the goons in the industry run the industry. There's goons. They run the industry, and there's goons underneath the goons, and there's the bigger powers, the powers that be. But we're not going to get too much into that right now. They're going to show the music industry. We already talked about that. I mentioned that. A lot of people are not ready for the conversation, so we'll save it for another day. Now, the real reason why the beef started, like after NWA and Ice Cube had the situation, they became cool. Dre left, and he had beef with NWA. Well, with like Eazy and some of those guys, and Snoop and them, they linked up, and that's how everything sort of started with that situation. But Dre and Eazy-E would kind of squash the beef around like 94, 95, right before he passed. They even talked, because once Eazy fired Jerry Heller and changed Ruthless Records, he wanted to bring back Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. So they had it covered, they had a plan. You know, the brothers were trying to reunite without Jerry Heller and any kind of influence from a guy like Jerry Heller, a money hungry, sort of somewhat shady type of like executive. Let's put it that way. I'm not gonna say nothing crazy, but we all know what happened. How Jerry Heller accused Ice Cube of saying all kinds of things and anti-Semitic remarks and all that. This is in like 90, 91. It was going crazy then. The whole story was crazy. There was a lot of back and forth, but at the end it was resolved. And R.I.P. to Jerry Heller. He died a few years ago, but again, without Jerry Heller, there wouldn't have been an NWA. So we can't, point the fingers. And some people I know are not happy. I see people in the comment sections every time I read something. They talk shit. I mean, they denounce the truth. They hate the truth. They want to make their own concept. The truth of the matter is, sometimes people got perspective. They might get emotional and write it out in a comment, right? Like everything else in this modern world, everybody got a voice. Everybody gets upset at everything or comments and blah, blah, blah. However, on these comments, the people, they have some truth to it. It's just that somebody might write a comment on YouTube and might have it a little misconstrued. Like they might say, well, no, Ice Cube was wrong for leaving. He was a traitor. Well, here's the thing. It wasn't Ice Cube. It was the way things are going. They were going to break up anyway. There was pressure. The FBI wrote them a letter. They had a song called Fuck the Police. I mean, they was provocative. The name was Niggas with Attitude. I mean, what else do you want, They were going through a lot of shit at the time. And they were really proud what they do. They didn't want to change the lyrics, change the name. They said, you accept us, if not, fuck off. It was that simple. NWA was really they really emphasized for freedom of speech, but they took the game to another level. Just like Public Enemy did in a more militant social way, and Wu-Tang and other groups, but NWA was one of the premier groups. NWA, a lot of these groups wouldn't have existed. I mean, let's be clear. They paved the way for a lot of them. Or they would have been there, but they would have been censored. It would have been the same. Even though music-wise it was different, NWA making gangsta, West Coast style hip-hop with a gang element, street element, with like like the G-Funk and that type of music, whereas East was a little different, but it don't matter. It's not about the music, it's about the ideology. They wanted them to have money. It was still, remember, hip-hop was black music. A lot of these people, the executives, a lot of them happened to be white or whatever they were, so they felt how they felt. They were white, they were, whatever. English people, some of them were Jews or European Jews that run the industry, so it's like they ran how they ran it, but there was always some kind of conflict. I feel like a lot of times it was ran the right way. I didn't see, a lot of problems. But I look at it more like this. Like, for example, people like Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and these other guys, even Tupac, they wanted money from the labels, but eventually you have to just kind of do it on your own. If you have to leave labels, fine. Unfortunately, though, sometimes it will be on bad terms. It'll be like a little riffraff, and things will happen, and everything else like that. But, it wasn't always like, you always know, like, it wasn't always like they're just going to fuck you over. Even though it kind of was at times. Sometimes, rappers will speak their mind, and they weren't wrong for it. Would I have done the same thing? I probably would have done something similar, but possibly just make music and, continue to do what I do. The point of the matter is, Ice Cube was kind of conscious, so he was smart. One of the smartest guys in the beginning. not to get caught up. Because once you sign a contract, you hand it over, you have a contract, you have to wait, obligation, you gotta wait. It's a long process, guys. I don't even want to pretend to know the music industry, but I know people that know it, like know the details and lawyers in it. But I learned a few things, like you gotta be certain age to own your master, your catalog. They didn't know no catalog, and those guys didn't know anything. Everybody from Tupac to Big to Bad Boy to Death Row to Snoop Dogg to the Rough Riders, a lot of guys that started in the industry, groups and as a group that was also part of the label. They didn't know what they were doing, so they were getting screwed over by the label. Not everybody, like for example, Rough Riders own a family. You know, they're like a family. They're cool. They weren't really. It's still business at the end of the day. Let's not get it fucked up, guys. It's a lot going on there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not what you think. You know, with this. Even for the divas, like for the singers and all, it's always a label. But who's to say? You know, maybe one day, like say like Rihanna, Taylor Swift, they'll own everything. They probably already do. Like, I'm not sure. I have to look it up. I don't want to say it. Like Rihanna owns her catalog. I don't know that. I'm not gonna say yes or no. But some singers, not just rappers, female artists, male artists, and groups have been done very well for themselves, where they never let the record pimp them. Let's be clear. The record pimps you. They do. That's not a debate. I don't care. People say, "Oh no, you're saying this." They do. A lot of records do that. It just comes down to if the record label are really that type with their artist. Like Eazy and Jerry Heller were cool, but eventually Eazy got tired of it and just fired Jerry Heller. The movie shows a certain way, interviews, and people say it was no different. In real life, who knows? We weren't there, but based on very good accounts that I've done my research on, it seems like he's on to part ways. But Ice Cube was one to say, "Yo, F you guys. I don't want to be here no more. Fuck out of here. I got to do my own thing." Ice Cube was going out there with goons, destroying labels and smashing things on the wall, taking it down because they were his. He owned the plaque, but couldn't get the money for it. And if you got to beg for chickens that are yours, what does it mean? So, long story short, we're renting. I'm renting a lot here, but I gotta explain the facts how they really were. That's what caused a lot of trouble. Also, beef with the record labels, but also artists. So now one rapper joins another record label, jumps teams, switches teams. The rappers that were these old rebel mates and all that, these record label mates, they might look at him like, "Okay, you're a traitor now. You fucked up. You left us." Or they might give him blessings. They might still be cool after the fact. Still do songs together. It's not the first or last time. I mean, they did it. 50 Cent signed Mobb Deep back in 05. When they left, they're still cool. MOP, same thing. Still tight with those guys. Like, they're still friends. So it's not always a beef situation, guys. But as we know, in hip-hop, a lot of times when a difference, some stuff happens, a beef is involved in it. And that's how it happened with NWA and Ice Cube. Ice Cube, some of his other homies, like Ice Cube and Cypress Hill had a situation over a song that was on a Friday soundtrack later, later on, years later. And, they beefed a little, but at the same time, they also were able to squash it all and, I guess go their separate ways and still be cool. Now, I don't know if the friendship is how it once was, but it's still pretty good. Even in some of the DVDs, if you watch some of the old DVDs, it was actually a lot of comment on it, how the relationship might not be the same, but they're still friends to this day, and they're still cool, and they go on to work after the fact. But they're probably beefy for like a year period, so 95, 96, probably like 97. See, 97 was a good year for hip-hop in many ways. I would a bad one too, because we lost Biggie and some rappers, but it was a good one because a lot of beefs were ending. Because again, unfortunately, with the bi-coastal beef war that was going on, that started sometime in like 95, between Suge Knight and Puffy, and eventually Tupac and Biggie, which somehow merged with something else. It was never an East Coast, West Coast thing. It was just labels that were powerful in their coast, and then the fans and the media got involved, and they wanted to, say things and kind of like explain how they felt, and just, again, back then, they all had a voice, but it wasn't like social media. Can you imagine if the East Coast and West Coast beef was going on right now, or like 5-6 years ago even? Can you just imagine that? Just sit back for a second and think about it. That beef would have been so much more violent, with like recession, you could see everything online, with with everything else like that going on. It should have been like a disaster, I mean, it was a disaster. We lost two of the best rappers ever, See? Tupac. Still got CDs, I got it all, guys. I got it on my phone, and I got CDs. I gotta have the hard copy. I'm old school like that. I'm crazy like that. I don't got the applause button here, but applaud me real quick. Pat me in the back, Usually have applause button here, to make the show more interesting, but today we got a break. We got on a break. So, having said that, 97 was a good year because everybody was kind of together trying to stop the beefs. But beefs are all over in the 90s. I mean, it was like a few other beefs to mention. Let's see, who else could I mention? So you had Snoop and Dre and Death Row versus Eazy and NWA and Ruthless once Dre left. I already mentioned Ice Cube versus Dre and NWA and those guys, but they squashed it shortly after. Yes, that's a good one. The Dog Pound versus Ruthless Records, an infamous fight that happened on a golf course around like 96. Yeah, 95, 96, 97, all that. So many like confrontations, altercations, different guys that were with Eazy's crew, like Bone Thugs and Harmony. He discovered them. They went at it a little bit with the guys from like the Dog Pound, like Corrupted Dads and those guys, Snoop and his cousin Nate Dogg and them. Rest in peace to Nate Dogg. There's a famous story that on a golf course. Those that know I'm talking about know I'm talking about. Those that never heard it, you hear it first. Maybe you heard it, but you probably never heard of it. Might not know what I'm talking about. There was a fight between crews where Death Row and what do you call it? The Dog Pound were in there. So were some of Eazy-E's boys from Ruthless Records, including guys from Bone Thugs and Harmony. And a fight erupted, and Nate Dogg stepped up because dudes was trying to really test him, and he cracked dudes, and even swung with like a bat. There's actually some footage of a guy swinging with a bat, a guy getting hit. But it's always the entourage. The rappers might be here one-on-one doing like a scrap, or the rapper versus somebody else's entourage, like I guess like a goon, somebody trying to sneak the rapper in. He's homies. So in this case was Nate Dogg, R.I.P. Nate Dogg. He was a real West Coast G. They'll jump in and fight, and that's how it always happens, guys. It's always fuck shit. Dudes don't know how to act. They act crazy. I mean, motherfuckers are crazy out here. These cats are just wild. Ninjas will just act crazy. They'll start shit. They will just, and there's always somebody in the entourage trying to look cool for his mans and them, for the other guy, for the guy who's cool, who's really cool with the, like, say like you have like a rapper, like you have like Cameron's crew, and there's a guy like right next to him, like a second guy that thinks out with Cameron and dips in his other guys. Then you have a guy that's cool with him, right? Who hangs out with them. And then you have like the Pee-wees, this guy named X, right? And then you have the guys under him. Those guys will be like, yo, how about we press Cam and Jim Jones and do something for you? This guy X tells them, no, chill, we all got it under control. Nah, but it's cool, man, it's cool, I'll do something, I'll go step that guy. And they go on behalf of the other guy. Never get the word from the rappers. Or sometimes they'll ask the rapper himself. They'll ask Jim Jones or Cameron, whoever, like, yo, should I do this? They'll tell them, no, chill, it's cool. They'll still do it anyway. They'll go shoot somebody. They're knuckleheads, which is why every rapper got somebody very trusted around them to make sure that the knuckleheads don't listen. Because these guys have a loyalty for these rappers. They're just goons, in the entourage. Remember, it's a very long story, guys. I can't explain it all. I don't want to break it down all the way. I don't got time to it. But all these rappers got their homies, their little mans, their shooters, the guys that their job is literally just to create confusion. Just go out there and fight and put hands. Because they ain't going to do it. They're not going to do it. And the rappers, like, sort of like their little, if you want to call it their right-hand man, their conciliator, their advisors, a lot of times they don't want to do it. Because a lot of times they got a job within the label through the rapper. Like how, for example, key example, 50 Cent at Bang 'Em Smurf one point, who was never really a rapper, might have rapped a little here and there, wasn't a studio at times, but mostly like an enforcer. He was really the guy held down. Almost like a manager without being a manager, but on the street side. Unfortunately, Bang 'Em Smurf got caught up, and of course, 50 kicked him out of his crew, and the rest is history, but they always get guys at that. Now imagine Bang 'Em Smurf's guys going to have to be like, yo, 50 don't like these and these guys. Let's go out there and kill these guys. Why not? We're going to do this. We don't care. And then Bang 'Em Smurf was like, yo, chill out, Joe. 50's making big money now. Get Rich or Die Trying just came out like 20 years ago, right? What's going on? We can't be doing all that. But that's where that's where the communication stops, and they fail to do that. That's why shootings happen. Gang wars, gang fights, or entourage fights, like they fought at the BET Awards and so on. I mean, beefs have been in hip hop like more than we can imagine. But again, in the 90s, you had Tupac and Biggie, and then after their deaths, so Snoop left Death Row. Snoop was getting pressured and strong armed by Death Row Records. That's how it goes, guys. It's always been a case, Always been a case. Unfortunately, beefs are a part of hip hop. But a lot of smart rappers know how to maneuver, dodge beefs, or choose to really put them aside. I mean, there might be a song or two, then they'll try to somehow make like a peace accord, a peace treaty, or before it even goes like that, they make sure that it doesn't go that far. But the beef's always been going down. It's always been going down. Nothing new. You know what I'm saying? So all we could do is learn from it. And we can learn from mistakes of those before us. Or the rappers these days can learn from the ones from the 90s when rap and hip-hop was really hard. Guys were saying some shit about you, they had to come and see you. They wasn't only, you say some shit now, you hide your hand, you throw a rock, oh, I didn't do it all, you're quiet now face-to-face, but you're talking shit behind social media. It was a little different back then, man. People would come and see you with the crews, there'll be shootings if they had to. You squash the beef to see start beef. You might have to bang it out with somebody or battle it out or on beef records, like I said earlier, or possibly even throw down. Even shootings would happen. But then clear heads would prevail, and somebody would come in and stop the beef. Like there was always OGs there was meetings. Not that they're there now, but now it just seems like nobody gives a fuck. Everybody just does their thing. These young guys don't have smart minds on their side. They do a little, but all the smarter guys are supposed to be smart, dumb. They're OGs. Like, these young guys are shooting each other and don't have no guidance. They got nothing but yes men around them. Dick riders, bitches, hoe ass niggas, weirdos. So no one's doing anything. They're just chilling, doing their own fucking thing. I don't know. I don't agree with that thing. Like, they all need a little help, but at the same time, it's the politics of how it is in the hood and in hip hop. You gotta look like a real dude, a real guy to be out there and do what you gotta do. You can't come across looking scared. You can't look like you're telling the police. Now, of course, these days, the whole other story. The whole snitching thing is just ridiculous. They're all talking to police these days. Well, most of them. Back then, very, very rare. And if a rapper told the police, it's more some shit like they just had him there. He had no choice. But, hey, do you want to give him nothing? Zero. Nothing. You want to be like, yo, I don't know, officer. I'm just there. I didn't know it. I didn't know shot me. I can't even tell you. Sorry. Like, go have find out. Or you know what they'll do? They'll be slick. They'll pay somebody to go tell the police for them, but they won't tell them. Like a common person. So they would look bad, like they were snitching. See, the 90s were just different. Not saying there was no snitching. No snitch is. But he wasn't how it is now. No way. Not even close. In the 90s, no way rapper would troll and do all the shit 6ix9ine did. Had beef everybody, start shit, then act like he was all good. Oh, I'm good now and have a career after that. Nah, you should be done, man. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was tough. It was really no one really helping no one at the time. It was very, very rough. And a lot of rappers have been exposed lately. There's been a lot of bullshit going on. A lot of, allegations and it's coming out. But that's all in the story because, they do a lot of dumb shit. I mean, once you, like Nori said in a Vlad Vlad TV interview a while ago, he said that there's a door, it's like a straight door, there's like a left and a right. You take one of those doors, you become big. You take the left door, you're like, yeah. You go straight, you might do your own thing, but you're not going to become as rich as the one that took like the right door. You take the door, you see this right arm? It's gone. You're giving your arm to somebody that you might not want to give your arm to. And I ain't talking about no Haitian Jack, King Tut, the legends that were really street guys and killers that really make your life hell. I mean, those guys were tough too. Now I'm talking about a whole other evil, a whole other entity and crazy stuff. I mean, the way they control the machine and the internet even, the way the labels got these guys these days. So the guys go independent and they choose the independent route. But again, that's another conversation. That's for more or less the evolution of how hip-hop changed the landscape, everything like the monetization, the way rappers make their careers these days. It's connected to beef because obviously back in the day records even promote beefs. Now they do, but it's more, it can be done through, like this can beef on social media. You don't have to make a song about somebody. That's the difference. That's the difference, guys. Hang on one second, guys. I want to look at some emails real quick here. I got notes, for days. I'll probably go on another, 15 minutes or something. I've been doing this for a while now, so talking to you for a while. But 1 second. There we go. Yeah, guys, so having said that, with the West Coast and East Coast beef, that was one of them. It was one of those big beefs where everything kind of started around a time. You got more and more worse, and it started because Suge Knight was having problems with Diddy. Something was going on, and he made that remark about him at the Source Awards. And then one of Suge's best friends and bodyguards, and the guy that was one of his goons from the West and only shooters, was killed in Atlanta at a Jermaine Dupri party, and Suge was there with his Bloods and his blood Perus and the Bloods and everything else. Some other goons were there. I think he might have been with some Mexicans and some other gangbangers from LA, not Bloods, but guys he's cool with. And he saw some Crips are cool, Bad Boy, and he saw Bad Boy's goons. And after the argument happened with these guys, Big Jake and security, he's the one that got shot. And then a fight actually started outside. No, I'm sorry, started inside. There was problems already, but he started inside. They had the words exchanged over a girl. Bad boom fight started, shooting happened. But another fight kept going outside. And the legend has it that Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, or Sean Combs, fought Suge Knight and his homie, and another one friend of Puff, his name Waltman, got in. And Suge was with 3 other dudes there. One of them might have been Buntry, a gentleman in Buntry who's dead now. Remember, they're all dead except for literally Suge and Puff and some people they're watching. I mean, those Crips that were with Puffy, they were cool with Puff at the time. Same ones that are alleged to have killed Tupac. A couple of those guys are there. But again, all those guys have died. So I mean, it's like snitching those guys. It's like snitching on a dead man. There's no snitching. If he's dead, he's dead. I mean, you still have to say nothing. I mean, you can still keep it quiet. I mean, you're supposed to, but you ain't snitching if you said stuff that's been going on out there. I mean, what's new? Everybody's snitching. Nobody gives a fuck about. And please, guys, please, miss me with the dumb shit of, yo, Tupac knew this and these killers, gunmen killed him. He's still alive. You've done this. Motherfuck all that shit, man. You know, get out of here. Also, people comparing, talking about beefs, the Tupac and Jay-Z thing, Tupac and Nas thing, and the 50 Cent thing. Motherfuck all that shit, man. Pac was nothing like Jay-Z or 50 Cent or even Nas. He was more like Nas, actually, in some ways. But at the same time, because, you know, they talk about revolution stuff, Black Panthers, Black struggle, social conscious, a type of topics, a little bit about political stuff. They both talk about gangster stuff. So, yeah, they were similar in that sense, but not really. I mean, Pac was more probably... The difference to Pac and 50, I get it, because they both got shot. It's kind of like gangster rappers, but that's about it, though. I mean, 50 probably would have made a record with Pac. They both were kind of like big presence, you know, had a little image, but they all do. As a matter of fact, the one that has the least image, just imagery. I mean, he's a dope artist. He's one of probably the greatest rapper alive right now, or active ones. Is Jay-Z. He's got a great image, but if you know, he don't promote images like that. He's not on social media as much. He's not there around the world. He's big in America. He's still, in my opinion, one of the GOATs. Like, might be better than some of these guys lyrically, but 50 and Nas and them are like more from the soul. They didn't sell out as much. And 50 got a huge following around the world, as does Tupac. In death more than in life. So the beefs kind of helped him in a way, but also obviously got him killed. Talking about Pac and Biggie, but Pac was larger than life. I mean, 50 used a lot of the stuff like Pac, a lot of the stuff to sell, to create a little controversy. Eminem even did that a little bit. Snoop took some of the blueprint, even though he was out when Pac was out, but, you know, used some of that. Some say DMX did. They were similar, but now DMX is his own style. He just happened to resemble Pac's style a little. Both were in some deep guys. You could feel them. Bold-headed guys. Or hardcore. So it was just, you know, some similarities. They're both very good dope artists. I mean, you can't name one better than the other. They're both better than the other. Both got songs for days that can really touch you and move you. So, yeah, great artist. But what I'm saying is that Pac came from the soul, and he got in some beefs, but also because of the situation that happened in 94, and actually because of that Bad Boy and Death Throat thing when they killed Big Jake, and Suge Knight had a vendetta and a beef with Puffy after that. When he bailed Tupac out of jail, he's already cool with Tupac, and Tupac's going at it a little bit, felt betrayed by like Puffy and like Biggie and Bad Boy and these other guys. That's how everything started. So let me repeat that. There was a shooting 94, November 3rd to be exact. Pac thinks he gets set up, but he survived the shooting. He won in a wheelchair. That's the famous shooting. He was like this, and he's in a wheelchair with a skull. He's like this, pissed off. That's the one you've seen. If you haven't seen that, you've probably seen it at some point. You probably have recognized it, especially if you're a certain age and you know actual hip hop or a little about hip hop beefs. So that happened. A few months later, 95, Pac got sentenced to jail for that situation regarding some kind of like an assault, you know, something with a young lady, grape assault. I don't want to say that word, so I'm gonna say grape. Grape means you know what? I don't know how to explain it to you. Tupac and his homies, including the guys that set him up, Haitian Jack and those motherfuckers, and not just Haitian Jack. Haitian Jack actually explained in the interview that he had nothing to do with it, but we all know that he did because his homies snitched on him, said that he was his idea. They you know, took advantage of violated a young lady. Tupac got the worst of it, and they want to kind of like hit out Tupac for that, and also for the fact that Tupac was being rebellious and not hanging out with them. Remember, they're extorting rappers. So King Tut, Haitian Jack, and a couple other guys, a gentleman named Dexter Isaac is the one that pulled the trigger on Tupac and shot Tupac in 94. Shot him in the head, in the knee, in the leg, and allegedly near the thigh area. But that could be also legend. That was the first shooting. That helped start the beef. By the time the beef started in 95, people were choosing sides. I mean, when Tupac and them went with Death Row and it started getting big, the labels had so much clout. That's how the beef kind of started. And that was one of the biggest beefs. The beef was over, but they kept going afterwards. So that's how everything started, right? Now, the beef continued because Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, the Muslim Brothers, and some of like the organizations that were really like the pro-black organizations. I mean, I'm not sure about Black Militia, but it was more like Farrakhan, you know what I mean? And some of those Fruits of Islam and a couple of the guys like the guys of the conscious community and a whole lot of ideological groups and sects and organizations, you know. Even a lot of 5%ers that were about unity, you know, kind of like want to come together, and that's how they brought back peace with hip hop. You know, the whole Bad Boy Death Row thing kind of died out. I mean, he never really died out, as you can see. Probably going to this day, some guys don't even like each other, but to the eyes of the public and everything else. And everything got better since then. But, you know, shit still happened. And then, you know, other beefs. I mean, you had Jay-Z and Nas beef after that. Snoop and Death Row. Snoop and Dre were cool for a while, but then they reunited. And Dre and Snoop had made beef with like Eazy-E before he passed, kind of, and says it's squashed that like Ice Cube and all. Even with Uncle Luke. As you might hear, they do say, Snoop Dogg says clearly, he's like, Eazy-E can eat a big fat dick. Uncle Luke eat a big fat dick. Completely disrespecting and going at all the tough guys, and all the top rappers at the time. They were from Compton, but that's when Eazy hit him up with a Real Compton City G's. So that was one of the iconic beefs: Death Row versus Ruthless Record, and Death Row versus, of course, Bad Boy. I'm sorry, Death Row versus Bad Boy. And that's when Snoop got involved when they shot up his trailer in New York City. He was trading those guys, and then they said that they asked Snoop Dogg in an interview, "Do you have a problem with Biggie and Puffy and those guys?" He said, "No, they're my homies. I'm cool. I do a song with them." Tupac heard them live air on 107, didn't like that. And that's when the riff raff happened and the beef between Tupac and Snoop started. Unfortunately, Tupac died too soon and he could never really resolve that beef. But it wasn't really no beef, just a lot of misunderstanding between the homies. It wasn't really like a beef, but you know how they take it. Fuck shit. Hip hop shit. Don't ask why, it just happens. It's just nerves and egos and they always get involved. So that's what that happened. Eventually Snoop ended up leaving Death Row around like 97? 98 he got signed, like early 98. But 97 he's still with them and they weren't going nowhere. It was just too much death there. Dr. Dre left, Pac got killed. Other guys were leaving, Suge Knight went to jail, so Snoop ended up leaving and Death Row started to collapse. That was the collapse of Death Row. I would say like 90, maybe like early 97, right? Because Pac died in 96, September 13th. Then Suge went to jail like October, and then, well, that's a whole speculation. I mean, too much happened. That's where the whole beef continued. Everything came from there. So now, later on, when Snoop and Dre became cool again, Snoop went with No Limit, and then he started hanging out with Dr. Dre and having beef with Death Row guys, as did Dr. Dre. There's a famous story that the Golden White Boy, the Golden Child, Eminem, oh yeah, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, he was pressed, and he was strong. He was almost strong arm, not necessarily strong arm, but he was pressed. And again, pressed means when they press you, they're like, "Yo, give up the goods, I want to fuck you up," or like, "This is us." They said, "This is Death Row, West Coast, motherfucker. We come here on behalf of Suge and those guys," and they'll do Eminem. So tell him it's Death Row. Eminem's bodyguard at the time, he's the one who actually saved Eminem and had to see him somewhere else. Now, how Death Row Records were in the building when Eminem was there, and this is in Hawaii, but it also happened in Cali too. There was like 2 instances where Death Row tried to go after Eminem. How did it happen? I have no idea. I really, like, how was it that he's Aftermath, there's Death Row folks here, they clearly got beef and they let him there, and Dr. Dre was there, but he wasn't right there, and the security and the goons there with him and the guys, I don't know, but I know there's a couple of Eminem's folks and Dr. Dre's folks were all there, and Death Row guys came in the building, but Eminem's his manager was there, I believe, Paul Rosenberg, but also he's head of security, and he talks about an interview. There's actually a recent interview on Drink Champs. There was one on, I believe, I forgot the source. What the hell was it at? With Charlamagne the God. I don't know if it was Breakfast Club or just one of Charlamagne's like platforms that he runs. He does interviews, but they were asking. He said, "Yeah, they came out there and we helped Eminem." They were laughing like, "Really? Eminem was really in trouble like that?" Because no one think Eminem being in trouble. He's like the golden boy at the same time. Being a white rapper, you're very popular. And you were the top as well. People like you. So did he want Eminem to end up like Tupac and these guys and Biggie and some of the other guys? So he was very controversial. So it had to be on him a lot more. But also the things that died out then, but it was still hot. Meaning it was still hard for a rapper like that. It could have been beef on site, shootings, confrontations, one-on-ones, guns were being pulled. In other words, the game was still hard. This is around like, I believe, 2001. Because Eminem blew up around like 99. He got signed 98, 99. He had some songs then, but he's got his buzz around 99. So by 2001, he was kind of the man, and that's all everything. He had 2 albums. 199, the Slim Shady LP, and one in 2000, the Marshall Mathers LP. So that's how, that situation with Eminem started. And they made some songs of Eminem and Dr. Dre and Snoop saying motherfuck them and a bunch of bullshit. But Eminem crushes guys, in an easy way. Plus, Snoop Dogg's group member, Crip homie, confidant, and he's one of his security, Big Trey D and Goldilocks. There's like 3 of them. Got this guy that used to rap like Butch Cassidy. And they had Goldilocks and Trey D, both, they know Compton, but they're from LBC, Crips. Oh yeah. They're with Big Trey D, bad motherfucker. And Big Trey D's got a perfect voice for hip hop. This guy got a really cool voice. He talks real slow. And he's one of the one guys said that, "Nah, I ain't snitching and we ain't touching that. That's it. We're going to keep it all the way 100. These are the street codes." But it's not like a bad guy. Like, he kind of reformed a little. He's the one that said that, like, if he seen Nipsey's Hussle's killer, seen it right there, he would have popped at him, like, right after they happened. He said, "I don't care, even though I didn't know Nipsey like that well, like that," he said. It's just some principle. OG principle, man. That's the West Coast for you. Don't try to understand it. You guys don't understand the West Coast hip hop, The street politics, the gang life is just different. They move different out there, guys. They be dancing like this out there on some. It's all different there. With gang signs, a whole different story. It's not like what we used to hear in the East Coast. Even the music industry, where music kind of connects with the whole crime and the world, the gang life here. We call them gangs here. They call them gangs there, but they're really gangs. They're like LA gangs. They're like sets, like gang, you know. They throw the words out here, but here's more like just groups and people just, try to do illegal shit. It's a little bit like Chicago, but Chicago is even more ruthless and more like gang culture than us. But really Cali, Los Angeles and Cali as a whole. Some parts of like Arizona and Texas a little, in the South, there's gangs. I mean, we have in Philly too, but it's just different in the East Coast. We got some like those kind of gangs that are more like LA gangs with collars and turfs and all that. Came along like sometimes in the late 90s in the East. Because those that were around, there was no gangs in the early 90s. It was going on, but it was more groups and blocks. That's how East Coast were. That's pretty different out there. And same thing with the music. They combine it with the music. Remember, that was being funded by some criminal activities and guys doing that shit. It's known. It was also legal money. I'm not gonna say it's all illegal money, but a lot of it was illegal money. They know it is. So, yeah, that's how that started. So now, some of the beefs that kind of continued were like the Jay-Z and Nas beef was a really big one. That was one of the beefs where it was actually mostly on wax. It wasn't so much on, on the street, but it got personal because, he had slept with his baby mama. He felt some kind of way. He didn't respond to his call. Nas was supposed to meet Jay-Z a couple of times in the studio once or twice, way before the beat, like in the 90s. We're talking about like the mid-90s, late 90s, because they knew each other for a while. And when they recorded like Reasonable Doubt in 96, which came out the same year as Nas' album, it was written. It was always competition, but that's how, from what I know and I've been told and also read and heard interviews, Nas was supposed to be featuring 2 Jay-Z albums, possibly 3 songs. I know 2 songs for a fact. One of them, as you might assume, was Dead Presidents, which he sampled his voice. And Jigga, Jay-Z was supposed to be featured in one Nas album. I want to say maybe, I don't know, it was from like 99 and even in The Firm, because he knew Foxy Brown, and he knew they're friends in common. AZ's from Brooklyn. He was cool with Jay, but him and Nas, he was cool with Jay, and, obviously, they were like the same area, but him and Nas were like this, AZ's always in Queens. Even though he was from Brooklyn, he would kind of like almost like rep Queens. So it was confusing, but Jay and Nas did have a beef because, again, he started like through like, I guess like jealousy and competition. She was never really super personal. He got a little personal, but not too personal, like where the line was really crossed. Minus Jay-Z being disrespectful and saying he slept with his wife, his baby mama, his ex-girl, and he left condoms in the seat. That was very disrespectful. On the lines of rating disrespect, rating how much disses were and how effective and disrespectful they were. But Jay dropped Takeover, and then Nas is the one that came with the most disrespectful shit on Ether. 2 amazing tracks, one better than the other. So you can't tell me and say here that like, well, really even come and you can make a debate, but you can't be like, well, one started. It was kind of like, it just started. I mean, Nas didn't really start it, but per se, but I guess Nas acting like he didn't care and being a little, on his own, made everything a little tougher, you know what I mean? So, that's how it started, kind of, And then you could build something else that, that they probably didn't want it to go there, but that's just how it went. And the Jay-Z and beef with Nas probably started around like '01, but it was brewing for a while. In the 90s, early 90s, over to the beginning of 2000s, they did a great job at avoiding each other, not being really conflicted and everything else. Eventually, everything kind of fell through and they ended up beefing. And Jay-Z premiered it when he put a picture of Prodigy, he dissed Mobb Deep and Prodigy, and he dissed Nas and a few other guys. He also didn't mention our names, but Mobb Deep and them. It was crazy because he were at them for real, and he put a picture of Prodigy trying to climb on the stage from like 1982 doing like a tap dancing at like a school, like a dance school, and he said it was '88. He was a young bull back in the '80s. So trying to spin like he always does. Jay-Z's like excellent at spinning things and trying to clown people and destroying your image. So it's 50, but 50 uses real facts. Jay-Z be slick about it, and he uses facts, but just to fuck with you like that, 50 has real issues against you. If you do something to him, he's slick too, but only if you done something to him. Jay-Z, he does the snake shit. He loves to do that. So yeah. That's how it goes, I mean, And that was one of the best beefs. I remember seeing that beef. I was right there front and center. I was probably the coolest guy in middle school with the tapes. I had the cassettes and I had the CDs, and I was making beef CDs. I was making CDs with all the diss songs. And I would sell them for like $5, a couple dollars. Yeah, people were coming up to me and wanted to grab them. It was a good time, actually, around then. It was actually a good time. Because I remember the 2000s, all the beefs was going on, all the hot tapes and everything was going on. So I'm old enough to remember, and I was there. So I kind of idea what's going on there. And I remember the beef being squashed. But I remember it went on for a while, that beef. So, yeah, that was a good one. Very good battle. Another good one was Jadakiss versus Beanie Siegel. Philly's own Beanie Siegel, which I met personally, and Jadakiss. Oh man, what a good beef that was. That was a great one. But again, it was because of Jay-Z. He put Beanie in a line of duty, so he wouldn't have to do it himself and get his hands dirty. That's all that was. So yeah. In the midst of all this, something else came up, and a lot of beefs was going on. Like Eminem was beefing a little bit with Benzino. Ja Rule 50 Cent some kind of beef that started way before. The Ja Rule 50 Cent beef is probably the longest standing beef in hip hop. One of the biggest beefs and best beefs. It's so much going on, but I mean that's the whole episode on its own. So we gotta take our time with that. I mean, it's a lot of details, but definitely a big beef. It started in 1999. And I got some info on that too, but it's a very long one and I don't have a lot of time, so we're gonna kind of like skip through some stuff. But basically, that beef started because of some street stuff, and it's hard to exactly explain how it started. It started because Joe was robbed by a friend that he knew that he was cool with, but the guy was on 50, a guy named Lil Troy from Beasley Projects. He robbed Ja Rule, took his chain. The reason being, he went to see him because he thought Ja Rule was having sex and was cheating on his girl with his current girl, but he was locked up at the time, so he thought that basically Ja Rule had like an affair with his girl. That wasn't the case. It never even happened. You know, people were telling him bullshit in his ears. So when he came out home, he robbed Ja, and that's how he kind of started. Ja Rule saw 50 Cent and this dude like a month later hanging out at a club together, kind of kicking it a little bit. And he knew the guy, but he knew the guy robbed him, so he felt some kind of way. So 50 there, so assumed that 50 wasn't some shit too, and he kind of, didn't really like it, I guess. And that's how one of the stories, at least 50 Cent's version. There's many versions, and he felt like 50 was hanging out with the guy too much, buddy, so he didn't really, associate too much with him, and he took it a little bit like, he took it like 50's hanging out with the op, basically. 50 explained that he saw Ja Rule like the same day, he just said what's up to him, but Ja acted kind of like he didn't want to talk to him because of that situation, and 50 felt like some kind of way, like, why are you acting like that? Alright, whatever, but that's not exactly, it was just one of the seeds. And then the story that later on, not too much later, they were shooting a video in Jamaica Ave, and 50 went out there, wanted to be part of the video, I guess, or in a shoot, or just watch it, just backstage there, and they saw him, and 50 was expecting more of a greeting meet. They're in the middle of doing a video, they kind of hit him with a little what's up, a little Murder Inc. sign, said what up to him, went like this, salute, kind of gave him a head nod, said what up, gave a really short, quick look at the simple Ja Rule and the Black Charlotte guys, they were in Murder Inc., that were guidance guys, and kept them moving. So I guess 50 expected a little more, probably like he wanted to do more network, or was trying to find a time to network with them, possibly in the video. I could have sworn 50 Cent is actually in that video if you really watch, but that's a different story. So again, he felt slighted again, disrespected again. So 50 felt like they weren't really looking out for him in some kind of way, like he's from the same hood, including Supreme was cool with them. He wanted to kind of like have a piece of the action, kind of gave over Murder Inc. a little. He knew some of the artists. He had been in the studio before with some of the guys, because Genesis J knew the guys from Murder Inc. And Black Child was signed to a label with Genesis J before Murder Inc. And that's how he knew 50 Cent, and that's how Ja Rule met 50 Cent. That's how it all kind of started. But they were like okay at first, like they weren't friends, but they were like like on okay terms. They would say what up each other, to see each other in a studio, and they talked about doing a song, doing some business. But that's how y'all kind of it just didn't go that way. Eventually, when 50 saw him at the video shoot, but they didn't really show him too much attention, and it seemed like Ja Rule wasn't really. I guess 50 felt like he wasn't really showing him love, and he felt like those G's should went after 50 and helped him out, not so much Ja Rule, and that's how the beef, kind of started. Eventually, 50 dropped a diss track called "Life's on the Line." They heard it and they didn't like it, and then they were booked to perform in the same show, and that's when they were confront each other, try to address the issue in Atlanta, because there's a guy named Uncle Chaz that one of my OGs knows him, actually, rest in peace, he was a good one. Never met Uncle Chaz or Chaz, but I know about him and actually seen his interviews. He was out of Queens, he died about 4 years ago, so rest in peace, he's a good one. An OG did a lot for him. He was like 50's kind of like manager at the time, and Murder Inc. were hanging out with Supreme, and he was one that set up a meeting. The meeting going nowhere, they got a fight, where Ja Rule got a fight. I mean, they're supposed to beat 50 Cent up a little, but 50 Cent cracked Ja Rule first and gave him a black eye, and he got out of there, didn't have a scratch on him, so I mean, you be the judge of that one. But I heard the story many times, and I heard that like they threw a cigarette holder, a little asher, the ash, the big ones, like marble and like metal. They grabbed it, throw it out of frustration against the hotel, because 50 in them ran in the hotel because they were outnumbered. I mean, the story's true, and let's not make me think about it. Gangster, I don't care how gangster 50 is, if he's 5 of y'all, 6 of y'all, and it's 30 of them, and you fighting, but 50's a savage. He's swung on Ja Rule, knowing his homies were right there. They were talking, Ja Rule's talking some kind of way, doing all this and yelling at him. 50 sits there before he let him had an opportunity to swing at him or to use it or to be on his face, because Ja Rule had a bat as he's talking to 50 Cent. 50 swung and boom, caught him, and that's how the fight started. By all accounts, Jaru cracked 50 with a bat, but 50 had a scratch on him, so that just tells you how powerful and how tough 50 really is. I mean, he just got out of there. Even if he lost that battle, he'd lose the war, that's for sure. So he got out, got away, They told him that like they threatened to kill him, but nothing happened. Just set up another meeting when he got back to New York after, and it's like October '99. This was like in the fall, I believe, because there was a hotel there, and there was a radio station. I think he did an interview, and he bragged about it later that night with a Columbia rap. But the promoter didn't like the interview, and he canceled 50 shows after that, the remainder of the shows, and he had to leave while Joe performed because they didn't want more beef with them after that, and they didn't want him to like really fight each other like on the show because anything could happen. And that's like got more violent. Eventually, 50 got shot, and everything kind of like. And after that, I mean, the beef it only got worse and get better. When 50 came out, started dissing Ja Rule. He had like okay to do it, back and forth. Joe made some songs about him. Eminem got involved in the beef, and that's how the whole thing circulated, and everything else kind of like followed after that. I gotta make a whole episode on this one because if you wanted the Ja Rule send truth and the beef between him, holla me personally. I could probably do another episode or either here or my other platform. I could do one here, like a special type of episode and talk about it. But you guys gotta show support and you gotta see how many people actually want to hear about it because I know all the details of all these beefs. I just don't want to talk about it now. It's too much. So I feel like I give you guys enough. So that was that. And yeah, I mean, a lot of these beefs will make an artist worse than the other one, but in reality, it's always a conflict of two interests, of two wills, and something just kind of happens, and usually gets resolved. I mean, without killing. In the 50 Cent Ja Rule thing, unfortunately, never really got resolved. It's still going on to this day. They're still trading blows a little on social media, and every now and then they'll roast each other or something will come up, but that's neither here nor there, really. But I mean, there's been other beefs. Like 50 Cent is one guy that comes in mind. He beefs a lot of rappers. I mean, DMX beefed with a few guys like Ja Rule. Him had a beef, but then they were cool before he passed. Corrupt and DMX had a beef. Corrupt and Joe had a beef. Jay-Z also had a little situation with like other guys, including DMX and J.O. Felony. Competitive vibes, I mean, I remember when Jay-Z was the president of Def Jam, his album was the top one, but then the other guys promote the album the same way, so he can have the best one. So Jay-Z's taking away from competition because you had DMX, Redman, Method Man, other guys there, and Nori, and Jay-Z's albums are getting the best one, even though they might not be the best albums, or maybe they were great, but Method Man's album from the year was great. Guess what? I have the album actually. I have it right now in the car. Not one video was shot for it. You know why? Because they were promoting him. So he felt some kind of way. Al Cool J too. And that's why Jay-Z had a beef and issue with some of these guys. Because he felt like the guys weren't really, I mean, they felt like Jay-Z wasn't really promoting the shit or the stuff. Like he should have. He was the president and an artist. You see what I'm saying? How you can be the president and artist? You have clout, but you're going to use your clout to get your, vengeance anyway. And Jay-Z did that. I know some people are going to want to defend Jay-Z. They hear and say, no, it's not true. Or probably even trying to say some shit in his podcast. The truth is out there. People know what it is. You're up for a reason, so yeah. So that was that, and then obviously in the 2000s and 2010, a lot of beefs continued. Cameron and Mace had a big beef, which now is resolved because they have a Pac as their still friend, and their homies, and everything's fine, and he went the way he should have went. 50 continued to beef with some guys, including Rick Ross, and they had a couple exchanges and lawsuits were traded, and songs or and everything else, but everything was cool after that. I mean, don't seem like they're really going at it too much with each other. That's some past history, but nobody cares anymore. They've moved on. I mean, 50's making millions on shows and deals, and it's low with TV deals. He's got a lot of ventures. Rick Ross is doing good shows too, and show money, and he's got, I mean, 50's doing a tour. So is Rick Ross. He's got money on shows as well. He's got like property. He's doing some, real estate stuff. They're all getting into venture. All the rappers, including like even everybody from Jay-Z to Ja Rule to 50 Cent to Fabulous to Snoop Dogg. So the good thing about this is, and I want to say in this episode on the podcast that all these guys learned and they're older now. Whether or not they're beefing, they probably still have some beef and they're cool, but they're not really going head to head as much. Except for, I believe, 50 Cent and Diddy. Pardon me, I don't mean to laugh, but geez, that's a crazy situation. 50's exposing everybody, and Diddy's going through a lot of scrutiny and bullshit, a lot of accusations because of some stuff that's coming up. Allegations. We can't say nothing. We don't know that. It's all alleged. It's all alleged. Until we know exactly. We weren't there. We don't know that. When you actually say something that's not true, and you think you heard it, and you say, hey, this is what happened, and you don't say allegedly, there is a rule out there. There's something called reckless endangerment of the truth. Look it up. Whoever's watching right now. If you're just watching in, we're talking about hip-hop, music a little bit, the way it came up in the shows, especially the battles and the rivalries. And you cannot say anything unless you know it for sure. So you got to say alleged or allegedly. If not, you break this code or you break this rule. It's part of copyright infringement called reckless endangerment of the truth. It really happens out there. I can say if I know somebody stealing eggs from a store and destroying stuff, and I say, yo, such and such, this guy, I don't know, his name is R, just call him, R the robber. He's out there doing some crazy shit, stealing shit, and he's not stealing shit. I'm just assuming he is because he looks like he is, or he's doing it, but I can't prove it. I could get in trouble. I could get sued. And if you do it enough and you destroy somebody's character enough and you do a lot of damage, you can even go to jail, believe it or not. There's a lot of rules and laws that we do not there. So know what you're doing. Be careful how you speak and what you say because it can really be used against you too, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, So yeah, that's that. And I feel like I've talked enough about the beef part. I only have another 10 minutes here, 10, 15 minutes, maybe less. I do want to cover a few other things before I head out and I call it a night. Let's see. Hang on. We got some comments here. We have some, but not on here though. They're actually on my phone, so I gotta read through them on the screen. My main Tone said he might jump in. Okay, Tone, that's cool. My friend said good stuff. My other friend said that he's watching. I'm watching about good stuff. Good job, G. My man Jamal's watching. Thank you, Jamal. Close said LOL. You look like you're the host. I am the host, bro. He said hip hop beefs have been going on since the beginning. They're very intricate. A lot of beefs going on. Yeah, that's true, bro. But also, let's be clear before we jump out this and leave this completely this topic and jump to the next one to the 400. Hip hop beefs have been crazy for a while, but I mean, it's always been like the violent ones. Now it just got worse with the young kids because now it's all beef. Back then it could be beef, but it's also mostly on microphones. Now it's all like all over the streets. It's very tough. So yeah, it's not fair. It's wild, but that's how it is. So yeah, it's not a lot of hope for these guys. They gotta really be careful, be mindful, have a little more guidance because all these guys don't have good people around them. You need like a J. Cole around you, not just a bunch of yes men they do. People are gonna hold your kind of explain to you like a philosopher. J. Cole to me is like a philosopher rapper. He's very good, and I like his music. Plus, he's a good person. I mean, very loyal. His craft is amazing. He's gonna go down as one of the goats. Watch, not only for the generation or the generation he's in, but even for all time. So, yep, J. Cole's a man like that. So now, let's talk a little bit about the year in review. We kind of keep wrap it up on this one. We're gonna stay a few more minutes and talk a little more. The year in review, guys. Yeah, we had a good year. I mean, to end the year like this, not a bad idea. On a high note, I just want to talk a little about stuff about the year, about the stuff we had, everything from accomplishments to the good stuff we did, the P's and Q's we were going through. Our P's and Q's are the good and the bad sort of. The good and the social, like the improvements, positive and negative. It's more like improvements, things we can do better. I mean, next year's gonna be a lot to improve, or after this upcoming year rather, a lot to learn from. But we're also gonna be doing some changes, guys. And overall, we had a good year. 2023 was actually a very good year for us, productive. We advanced a lot. We reached like the 150 mark recently. We reached a 3-year mark as well, which in terms of hours will be like I think January. I think it should be the next episode actually, believe it or not. So January 7th. Or 5th. Oh, what about that? But we definitely reached the milestone. So 23, like 2023 was a good year, but we learned so much and we've been going forward. We've been going on this app for a while now, which is StreamYard, the one we use. And it's not for changes. I mean, we're talking about behind the scenes with people and trying to get more monetized and get more people to actually tune in. But we reached the views that we want to reach, so we reach the monetization. Now we're getting the nice views that we like. The content is good. We need help sometimes, but we do what we could. We're doing that very well. Every topic is good, and we had some good topics this year all along. I mean, we had some good episodes. Mental health, couple parts. We had Power Say No. I mean, we had like sports episodes and the Eagles and the Sixers and predictions and talked about what we want here. We had entertainment ones. We talked about like the Oscars. The Will Smith thing that happened recently with Jada. When she wrote a book about him. We talked about something going on in the news. Talked about like almost a year ago the whole Tory Lane thing with Megan Thee Stallion. Talked about justice a little. Talked about reversing the roles and dating advice. Last year, around this time actually, and this year, we had a couple of girls as well. Because if we're talking about dating guys, we want to keep things a certain way. So yeah. The year was good. I mean, I feel like the promo we did was good, and we actually got to travel a little. So me and Steve, when we go out, we'll have to show you guys where we, especially out of the city, like out of town. Because the Locked In Podcast, guys, is not reserved only for here. It's a little bit everywhere. Trying to get global. Right now, they know us, like on YouTube, like people all over the country kind of like have seen something. It's not just in Philly, but we're obviously Philly based. But again, we'll check out algorithms. We can even post it for you guys. We're growing and growing. The numbers and the views have definitely grew. But we want to get the audience even more, like quality viewers, subscribers getting there. So it's always cool. We talk about a good topic, guys. Something interesting and collective, or something like with substance and educational. Sometimes you gotta keep entertaining music too. We have music, entertainment stuff. You gotta have things that you you like. And we haven't talked enough about this, so today I want to break that down. But like I said, I think I spent good enough amount of time on that. And as far as the year recap, I think we had a productive year. It was a good year. We learned a lot. The years go by quick. I mean, it's a big long year and it's fast, but it just feels like it goes by quickly sometimes. But we did some good work, and I think I'm happy with what we did this year. I know Steve probably feels like, similar. He told me the day that we had a good point, but we just have a lot of stuff to do. And when it's two people, we obviously gotta split everything between us, which is why today I'm doing it by myself. But don't worry, guys. We're doing a lot of work, and we're sharing a lot of the stuff we're doing, and it's like we're really just growing. The Locked In podcast will have a lot more people, and a lot more episodes next year. Even people on the show, we bring some guests when we can. Sometimes it's a little harder, but we always do that. We do the best we can, guys, and we continue to do good work. We'll continue to bring guys what you need to see and the content you like. Remember, you can also request a video. Request to be in a video. If I don't know you, if you feel like you can talk about something interesting, just we have to come in respectfully and pay respects, and talk the right way, explain something good, and obviously we keep some things to limits because of monetization, because of the algorithm. YouTube is not playing, but overall it's good. So yeah, like I said, I do want to wish everybody Happy New Year, and everybody watching us, supporting us. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're doing good. We'll be doing good. And this upcoming year is nothing but more change and just better stuff to come. I want to give a shout out as well. Take the time to talk about last week's episode when we had Zach Rounds. I want to give a shout out to our friend Zach Rounds for coming in. Even like he came in a little bit short notice and having a great show. I mean, he crushed the show. He did really good. He had some good points. His episode was really watched, and it was a really good one. So we'll have him again. Zach was a kid that came last week. He's paralyzed, but he's got a lot better. Or he was paralyzed, and he's playing football for a while. So actual football, not flag football, not football in a wheelchair, or like for handicaps. Actual football. I mean, he somehow beat the. He was supposed to be handicapped, but he somehow beat the. He beat it. Beat the odds. He beat the disease. So shout out to him. Shout out to people watching, like our main guys, like Mary Rafaeli, Raul Ventura, Rich Mitchell, and some of our other friends watching. My man Cozy, my homie Cozy, Mary, as we said, Dylan as well, Steve's brother, all the guys that support and watch have been here. I appreciate you. And we usually do like this. We usually give a shout out to the guy that was before last week. We had a great episode with Zach, and I thought this week's a good one too. We have more coming, guys. A lot more in store. Check us out and be on the lookout for 2024 for possible deals, changes in the podcast, more guests, and us growing more and more. Because we're getting there slowly but surely. We're getting there. So stay positive, guys. Stay fly. Having said that, today's episode was definitely a good one, and I think it was a good amount. So, like I said, trying to bring you guys a little different perspective. I want to talk about what's going on in the hip hop industry, how a lot of these reps start, or the reason behind a lot of them. But it could be a million and one ways, guys. The ways for start beef is infinite. You already know that, because a lot of guys and girls who are watching probably mostly listen to hip hop, know diss songs. I mean, you can forget Drake versus Kendrick when he did back to back, like 2015. Any performing in Philly, Meek City, it's tough, but it's the way of the world. It's how it works, So, yep. Having said that, guys, we're gonna probably wrap it up here. I'm about to go. It's getting a little later. I'm glad that I could do a good show by myself and everything, but I'm about to call it a wrap. It's been great, guys. It's been fun. It's been real. I do, like I said, thanks to all the guys that look out for me, and those watching, and all the guys. I'll give some names that you know who they are. Some of the people that quote unquote support me, and some of the guys that want to sponsor me, for the fight game, for like my other endeavors, for my projects, for of course the business that we're doing, helping run, for this, for the podcast. People there that want to help us and look out for us and help us get money and sponsors. I know a couple guys. It's definitely said nothing emotional yet, but we're definitely working diligently to get this done. And we don't want to say too much, but it's getting there, guys. So keep your eyes open, your ears open, ears to the street. You gotta see, the trick is to be free in 2023 and television, like I always say. But the trick is to do what you love. So guys, stay up. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. Have a great time. Have a great weekend. It is Friday. Enjoy and be you. Like I always say, be the best and fuck the rest, okay? This has been a presentation of the Locked In Podcast. You've been talking to me. I'm yours truly, G Money. And we're getting ready to actually wrap it up. And that should be it, guys. I enjoyed this show so much. You guys probably enjoy watching it, and some people are watching here. It was fun. It was actually pretty natural to me, although I do a lot of research too, but a lot of stuff I already knew. So it's cool, man. Keep watching hip hop. Keep checking us out on the podcast. May we have a better 2024. And